The blade pressed cold against my throat, its edge whispering promises of finality in the dim flicker of a Brooklyn warehouse bulb. Rain hammered the tin roof like 1,000 accusations, drowning out the distant wail of sirens that would never reach us in time. "One move, Alex, and I'll carve that pretty smile right off your face," Damien growled, his breath hot against my ear, his body pinning mine to the wall with the unyielding force of a storm about to break. I didn't flinch. Fear coiled in my gut like a serpent, but survival had taught me sharper tricks than trembling. At 25, I'd danced on the razor's edge of New York's underbelly long enough to know that panic was a death sentence. My hands, slick with sweat and rain, slid up his chest. Not in resistance, but in invitation, fingers tracing the hard lines of muscle beneath his soaked shirt. "Then why haven't you?" I murmured, my voice a velvet challenge, lips brushing the stubble on his jaw as I tilted my head just enough to let the knife's tip dimple my skin without breaking it. His hazel eyes narrowed, that predatory glint flickering with something darker, hungrier. Damien Blackwood, the ghost hunter of the city's shadows, the man who'd tracked me across 3 boroughs for the syndicate that wanted my head on a platter. They said he never missed, never hesitated. But tonight, in this forsaken corner of Red Hook where the Hudson's fog choked the air, I saw the crack in his armor, a hesitation that tasted like opportunity. I pressed closer, my thighs slipping between his, feeling the betraying twitch of his pulse under my touch. Seduction wasn't just a weapon, it was my only lifeline. And as his grip loosened a fraction, I wondered if this game would claim more than my freedom. The warehouse reeked of rust and forgotten crates, relics from when this stretch of Brooklyn shipped dreams instead of bodies. I'd come here chasing a lead on the flash drive, burning a hole in my jacket pocket. Stolen data from the Vesper Group, the syndicate that ruled New York's black market with iron fists and encrypted ledgers. One wrong peek into their money-laundering empire, and I'd become their most wanted. Alex Rivera, street-smart orphan turned freelance coder, reduced to a ghost in his own city. But ghosts don't bleed, and I sure as hell felt the sting of that blade like a lover's bite. Damien's free hand clamped my wrist, yanking above my head, but I arched into him anyway, letting out a soft, calculated gasp that echoed off the walls. "You think this changes anything?" he rasped, his voice gravel wrapped in smoke, the kind that lingered in dive bars after last call. 32 and built like he'd been forged in the fires of too many bad decisions. Broad shoulders straining his coat, a faint scar tracing his left cheekbone like a map to his regrets. I'd studied him from afar, piecing together whispers from the underground. Ex-military, syndicate enforcer, a man who collected bounties like others collected regrets. "It changes everything," I whispered, my lips grazing his earlobe, heart pounding not just from fear, but from the electric charge of his proximity. Lies came easy to me. I'd honed them on barstools and back alleys, charming info out of marks twice my size. But this felt different, raw, unscripted. His scent, leather, and gun, oil mingled with rain, invaded my senses, stirring something reckless in my chest. I twisted just enough to press my mouth to the pulse at his neck, tasting salt and the faint copper of old blood. "Kill me now, or let me show you why they fear me." He froze, the knife hovering, his breath hitching in a way that betrayed him. In that suspended heartbeat, the world narrowed to the heat between us, the storm outside mirroring the one brewing in his eyes. Then, with a curse that shattered the silence, he sheathed the blade and shoved me back. Not hard enough to hurt, but enough to remind me who held the power. Or so he thought. I stumbled into a stack of pallets, catching myself with a grin that masked the tremor in my limbs. "See? Not so dead yet." Damien raked a hand through his damp hair, jaw clenched like he was chewing on glass. "You're playing with fire, kid. Vesper doesn't forgive slip-ups. And you're the biggest one they've had in years." He stepped closer again, but this time there was no threat in it, just a weary intensity, like a wolf circling a flame he couldn't decide to devour or flee. "Hand over the drive. Walk away. Maybe you'll see sunrise." Sunrise. The word hung between us, fragile as the first light piercing fog over the East River. I laughed, low and bitter, fishing the drive from my inner pocket and dangling it like forbidden fruit. It's just code. But you're the one they send when they want it done quiet." My eyes locked on his, daring him to look away. "Question is, Damien, how quiet do you want it?" He snatched the drive, but his fingers brushed mine, lingering a beat too long. Electricity sparked, unbidden, and I saw it mirror in his gaze. Confusion, desire, the sharp edge of something neither of us had bargained for. The rain pounded harder, as if the city itself urged us toward the inevitable. We were hunter and hunted, oil and water in the city's churning veins. But in that moment, as he pocketed the drive and pulled me toward the exit with a grip that was half restraint, half anchor, I felt the first treacherous pull of my heart toward the darkness he'd dragged me into. Outside, the alley swallowed us whole, puddles splashing under our boots as thunder cracked like a whip. Damien moved like shadow itself, scanning the fog-shrouded streets for tales. Vesper's eyes were everywhere, from corner dealers to suited fixers in midtown high-rises. I matched his pace, adrenaline sharpening my senses, the brush of his arm against mine sending unwelcome shivers down my spine. We bought time, but not much. The drive was a ticking bomb. Decrypt it, and Vesper's house of cards crumbled. Destroy it, and I was free, but Damien? He was their blade, and blades didn't walk away clean. Why not just end it? I asked, voice barely above the downpour, as we ducked into a narrow side street lined with overflowing dumpsters and flickering sodium lamps. Graffiti screamed defiance on the bricks, tags from crews I'd run with in my wilder days, back when coding for cash meant hacking ATMs in Queens, not toppling empires. He shot me a sidelong glance, hazel eyes catching the light like fractured amber. Because you're not what I expected. The admission slipped out rough, laced with frustration. We paused at a chain-link fence, his hand steadying me as I vaulted over. Then he followed, landing with predatory grace. Smart mouth, sure. But theirs. Fire in you. Vesper chews up fire and spits out ash. Flattery from killer. It should have repelled me, but instead, it warmed the chill seeping through my jacket. We pressed on, weaving toward the elevated tracks where freight trains rumbled like restless beasts. My mind raced. Options dwindling to a safe house in the village or a burner phone to my one contact, a barista/informant named Riley who owed me from a heist gone sideways. But Damien's presence complicated everything. He was a magnet for trouble, and damn if I didn't feel drawn to the burn. We slipped into an abandoned lot, chain link rattling behind us, the air thick with the tang of wet concrete and distant exhaust. He cornered me against a graffiti-scarred wall, not with violence this time, but with questions. What did you see in those files, Alex? Enough to run, but not enough to disappear. His body heat cut through the cold, inches separating us, and I fought the urge to close the gap. Enough to know Vesper's not just laundering cash. They're pulling strings in City Hall, rigging bids on those luxury condos popping up in the Bronx. Displacement on steroids. Families like mine, Puerto Rican roots, scraping by in the projects, get evicted for penthouses. My voice cracked, the old anger surfacing. Mom's face flashed in my mind, her laugh echoing from a cramped apartment before cancer and creditors took her. I'm not running blind. I'm burning it down. Damien's expression shifted, respect flickering amid the storm in his eyes. His hand lifted, thumb brushing a raindrop from my cheek, the touch lingering like a brand. Brave. Stupid, but brave. Then, softer, almost himself. Reminds me of someone I couldn't save. The vulnerability hit like a gut punch. Who was this man beneath the hunter's mask? Ex-lover? Brother? The question died on my lips as headlights pierced the fog. A black SUV, crawling the perimeter, Vesper's hounds on the scent. Damien yanked me down behind a rusted shipping container, his arm banding around my waist, pulling me flush against him. My heart thundered, not from the danger, but from the solid wall of his chest, the way his breath synced with mine in the shadows. Quiet, he murmured into my hair, his lips grazing my temple. The SUV idled, engine purring like a threat, then peeled away. But we didn't move. Couldn't. The air thickened, charged with unspoken possibilities. I turned his hold, gray eyes meeting hazel, and in that suspended breath I leaned in, testing, tempting. Our lips met in a clash of desperation and discovery, rain mingling with the salt of our skin. It wasn't gentle. It was survival wrapped in silk, his hands framing my face as if I were the fragile thing. When we broke apart, gasping, his forehead rested against mine. This doesn't change the job, he said, voice wrecked. But already had. In the dark heart of Brooklyn, I'd wielded seduction like a shield, only to feel my own walls crumbling. Damien Blackwood wasn't just my hunter. He was the spark threatening to ignite everything I'd buried deep. The kiss lingered like smoke in my lungs as we bolted from the lot, the city's pulse quickening under our feet. Manhattan's glow beckoned across the bridge, a false promise of safety in its glittering veins, but we veered south instead, toward the labyrinth of Dumbo's warehouses, where artists and outcasts blurred the lines between creation and crime. Damien's hand gripped mine, not as captor but conspirator, his strides eating the distance while I scanned rooftops for sniper silhouettes. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, yet here I was, tethered to the man who'd been sent to end me. We ducked into a derelict loft, its windows boarded like forgotten secrets, the air heavy with dust and the faint echo of past raves. Moonlight slanted through cracks, painting silver stripes across the concrete floor strewn with shattered glass and faded flyers. Safe for now, Damien muttered, barricading the door with a rusted beam. He shrugged off his coat, revealing the holstered Glock at his hip, the tattoo of a coiled serpent snaking up his forearm, a mark of loyalties I'd yet to unravel. I paced the shadows, peeling off my sodden shirt, the chill raising gooseflesh on my skin. For now's not enough. Vesper's got eyes in every precinct from here to Harlem. My voice echoed sharper than intended, laced with the frustration of a life spent dodging bullets, both literal and figurative. At 25, I'd coded my way out of foster homes and into freelance gigs that paid in crypto and close calls. But this This was personal, a vendetta born from stumbling on Vesper's ledgers while hacking a corrupt developer's server for a client's revenge porn takedown. Damien watched me, leaning against a pillar, his hazel eyes tracing the lines of my body with an intensity that made my pulse stutter. You think I don't know that? I've been their dog on a leash longer than you've been dodging Rit. He pulled a flask from his coat, the metallic clink cutting the tension, and offered it. Whiskey burned down my throat, warming the void where fear and folly warred. But that drive, it's leverage. We decrypt it, leak it to the right Fed. I arched a brow, handing back the flask, our fingers brushing again, deliberate this time. The air hummed, thick with the residue of our kiss, unspoken questions hanging like fog. Last I checked, you were the one with the knife to my throat. He took a swig, Adam's apple bobbing, then set the flask down with deliberate care. Last I checked, you were the one begging for more. His voice dropped an octave, rough with the gravel of truths we'd both skirted. He closed the distance in 2 strides, backing me against a graffiti-tagged wall, swirls of color depicting lovers entwined in thorns. His hand caged my head, thumb tracing my lower lip, igniting sparks that raced southward. Tell me to stop, Alex. Say it and I'll walk. But I couldn't. The hunter in him called to the wild in me, a magnetic pull that defied reason. I surged up, capturing his mouth in a kiss fiercer than the first. Teeth nipping, tongues clashing like swords in a duel, neither wanted to win. His hands roamed, mapping the scars on my ribs from a bar fight in the village, the faint burn mark on my shoulder from a soldering iron mishap during a late-night hack. He growled low, lifting me effortlessly, my legs wrapping his waist as he pressed me harder against the wall. Clothes shed like inhibitions, his shirt discarded, revealing the chiseled planes of his torso, marred by faded bruises and that serpent tattoo coiling toward his heart. We tumbled to the floor amid the debris, the concrete biting into my back, but pain blurred into pleasure under his touch. Damien's mouth trailed fire down my neck, nipping at collarbones, drawing gasps that echoed in the empty space. Your trouble, he murmured against my skin, fingers deftly undoing my belt, the kind that gets a man killed. Then kill me slow, I shot back, arching into him, nails raking his shoulders. Our bodies aligned, slick with sweat and remnants of rain, moving in a rhythm as primal as the city's undercurrent. He entered me with a restraint that shattered his control, eyes locking on mine. Hazel depths swirling with conflict, desire, a vulnerability that pierced deeper than any blade. Waves crashed over us, building to a crescendo that left us wrecked, tangled in each other's arms, breaths mingling in the afterglow. As the haze cleared, reality seeped back, the distant honk of taxis, the creak of the buildings settling like a sigh. Damien rolled to his side, propping on an elbow, his free hand tracing lazy circles on my chest. This wasn't the plan. Plans are for suits in high-rises. I turned to face him, memorizing the way moonlight softened the scar on his cheek. What about you, Damien? What's your story? Ex-Marine turned hitman doesn't scream, happy ending. He tensed, gaze drifting to the boarded window. Silence stretched, heavy as the night. Finally, grew up in the Rust Belt, Detroit, factories closing faster than promises. Joined the Corps for escape. Came back to nothing but debt, and a sister hooked on Vesper's product. His voice cracked on her name, Lila, eyes darkening with ghosts. Try to pull her out. They made an example. Now, I hunt to keep the lights on for ghosts. Empathy twisted in my gut, mirroring my own losses. Mom's empty chair at the kitchen table, the way she'd hum salsa tunes while coding simple programs on her ancient laptop, teaching me lines of code like lullabies. They take everything, I said softly, hand covering his. But we take it back, together. He searched my face, then pulled me close, our foreheads touching. Together's a dangerous word in this city. Dangerous, yes. But in the quiet that followed, with his heartbeat steady against mine, it felt like the only one worth whispering. Dawn crept in gray fingers through the cracks, painting the loft in muted tones. We dressed in silence, the intimacy of night giving way to the pragmatism of survival. Damien pocketed the drive, then tossed me a burner phone from his coat. Riley's your guy. Text him coordinates for a drop. Neutral ground, Washington Square Park at noon. I'll handle the decrypt on my end. Jealousy flickered unbidden. Riley, with his easy smiles and shared history of narrow escapes. But I nodded, pocketing the phone. And if Vesper catches wind? Then we run faster. He cupped my jaw, thumb stroking my stubble, the gesture tender enough to ache. Or we fight dirtier. We slipped out as the city stirred. Delivery trucks rumbling, joggers pounding pavement oblivious to the shadows we cast. The subway swallowed us, rattling toward Greenwich Village, where brownstones hid speakeasies and secrets. My mind whirled, decrypt the drive, expose the corruption, free us both from Vesper's noose. But beneath the strategy lurked the deeper fear, not of death, but of losing the fragile thing blooming between hunter and prey. Washington Square arch loomed like a sentinel as we arrived, students lounging on the grass, buskers strumming folk tunes under the autumn sun. Riley waited by the fountain, his lanky frame slouched against marble, curly blonde hair catching the light. 27, barista by day, data broker by night. Our paths crossed in a cyber cafe hackathon 2 years back, bonding over bad coffee and worse firewalls. Alex, man, you look like hell warmed over. Riley's blue eyes widened at Damien, flicking between us with sharp curiosity. And who's the tall drink of danger? Complicated, I muttered, handing over an encrypted USB backup fragment from the drive. Need you to mirror this cross-reference with public records on those Bronx evictions. Quietly, Riley pocketed it, grin fading to concern. Vespers circling. Heard whispers. They put a 5-figure bounty on your head last night. He glanced at Damien, suspicion hardening. You trust him? Damien's arm brushed mine, a subtle claim. More than I should. The exchange hung tense, but Riley nodded, melting into the crowd with a final warning. Watch your 6. They're playing for keeps. As he vanished, Damien pulled me toward a bench, the park's energy a stark contrast to our coiled nerves. He's solid as they come. I leaned into him, shoulder to shoulder, the casual contact grounding. Around us, life unfolded, couples strolling hand in hand, a drag queen voguing for tips, the arch framing it all like a portal to normalcy we'd never known. What now? Hole up in some midtown flophouse. His laugh rumbled low, vibrating through me. Better. Got a contact in the garment district, tailor who owes me from a job in 22. Stash of burners, fake IDs. We gear up, then hit their safe house in Hell's Kitchen tonight. Tonight, adrenaline surged, mingling with the warmth of his proximity. The plan was suicide, but with him, it felt like destiny. We rose, weaving through the throng, his hand at the small of my back, a touch that spoke volumes. But as we crossed the street, a chill prickled my neck. A black sedan idled at the curb, tinted windows hiding watchful eyes. Vesper. Damien tensed, guiding me faster into the subway entrance, but the die was cast. The hunt had flipped. Now, we were the ones closing in. In the dim tunnel, waiting for the uptown train, he turned to me, hazel eyes fierce. Whatever happens, Alex, don't look back. I gripped his shirt, pulling him into a shadowed alcove, our kiss a vow sealed in steel and longing. Only if you promise the same. The train screeched in, doors hissing open like a challenge. We stepped aboard, the city blurring past, hurtling toward confrontation. Seduction had bought me breath, but Damien? He'd stolen my resolve, weaving himself into the code of my survival. And in the rattling dark, I realized the true danger wasn't the syndicate. It was the heart I'd lost to the man beside me. The garment district buzzed with midday chaos. Seamstresses shuttling bolts of fabric, designers barking orders into earpieces, the air thick with the whir of sewing machines and the faint starch of ambition. We slipped through side doors into Mr. Rossi's atelier, a warren of racks and hidden compartments where alterations hid more than hems. The old Italian, silver-haired and sharp-eyed at 65, greeted Damien with a gruff embrace, muttering in broken English about crazy kids and their troubles. Senior Blackwood, always with the drama, Rossi clucked, leading us to a back room lined with mannequins like silent witnesses. He unlocked a floor safe, revealing a trove. Passports with our faces but false names. Mine as Ethan Cole, his as Marcus Hale. Burner laptops, even a compact Beretta for me, its weight foreign yet reassuring in my palm. Use wisely, and stay out of my sewers. Gratitude swelled, but Damien's nod was curt, his mind already miles ahead. We geared up in the dim light. Fresh shirts, slim-fit jeans that hugged like second skins, transforming from fugitives to ghosts blending into the urban tapestry. As Rossi vanished to mind the shop, Damien cornered me against a mirror, his reflection framing mine, hazel eyes devouring. You ready for this? My hand found his waist, thumbs slipping under fabric to trace warm skin. Ready as I'll ever be. The lie tasted sweet. Truth was, the safe house raid terrified me. Not the violence, but the fragility of what we'd forged. One bullet, one betrayal, it shattered. Yet his touch grounded me, an anchor in the storm. We emerged into the afternoon haze, hailing a cab to Hell's Kitchen. Once a theater of Irish gangs, now a mix of revitalized lofts and lingering grit. The cab dropped us blocks away, and we trekked on foot, blending with dogwalkers and delivery bikers. The safe house squatted on a nondescript corner. A 4-story brownstone with blackout curtains and a reinforced door, Vesper's nerve center for laundering through fake art galleries upstairs. Twilight bled into the sky as we cased it from a coffee shop across the street, nursing espressos that burned like warnings. Damien's knee pressed mine under the table, a constant undercurrent. 2 guards front, 1 rear. Motion cams on the alley. We go in quiet. Service entrance, 2nd floor. I nodded. Decrypt app humming on the burner laptop, cross-referencing Riley's prelims. File show a server room basement. If we jack in, we can mirror their whole network, expose the lot. His grin flashed, wolfish and warm. My kind of crazy, but as night fell, painting the street in sodium glow, tension coiled tighter. A figure emerged from the brownstone. Tall, suited, barking into a phone. Marco Voss, Vesper's underboss, face like weathered leather from too many backroom deals. Recognition hit Damien like a slap. His fingers whitened on his cup. Know him, I whispered, alarm bells ringing. Too well. Damien's voice iced over, gaze hardening. Lila's dealer. The one who, he cut off, jaw grinding. The scar on his cheek seemed to pulse, a reminder of debts unpaid. Marco lit a cigar, puffing smoke rings into the chill, then slid into a waiting Escalade. Gone, but the echo lingered. We abort. I pressed, hand on his arm, steadying, pleading. No, he met my eyes, resolve stealing. For her, for us. The us hung precious, a thread binding hunter to hunted. Midnight struck as we moved, shadows among shadows, scaling the alley fire escape with muffled steps. Damien picked the service lock, a soft click granting entry to a kitchen reeking of stale takeout and gun cleaner. We cleared rooms silent as sin. Empty poker tables, stacks of banded cash, a wall safe cracked open to reveal bearer bonds. Heart hammering, I tailed him to the basement stairs, Beretta drawn, the metal cold comfort. The server room hummed like a hive, racks of blinking drives, cooling fans whispering secrets. I plug in a laptop, code flying across the screen in a digital ballet. Uploading. 80%. Sweat beaded my brow, Damien guarding the door, his silhouette a sentinel. Then footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Damien signaled, melting into cover behind a console. 2 guards lumbered down, radios crackling. Perimeter check. Boss says double up. That Rivera's slippery. Adrenaline surged. I crouched low, upload ticking to 90. The first guard, burly with a neck tat, paused at the threshold. Damien struck like lightning. Arm choking the man's windpipe, knee buckling his legs. A muffled grunt, then silence as he slumped. The second spun, drawing, but I fired, pop from the suppressor, center mass. He crumpled, eyes wide in shock. Damien's gaze met mine over the body, a mix of pride and pain. Clean work. Team effort. But the blood's copper tang soured the air, reality's bite. Upload complete, I yanked the drive, but alarms wailed, red lights strobing like accusations. Ow! Damien hauled me up. We bolted stairs 2 at a time, bursting into the night. Tires screeched, Vesper's response team. SUVs boxing the alley. Bullets pinged off bricks, shattering the illusion of control. We dove behind a dumpster, returning fire, Damien's Glock barking precise, mine wilder but effective. A tire blew, an SUV fishtailing into a hydrant, water geysering like a fountain of chaos. West, he yelled, and we ran, lungs burning, the city a blur of honks and headlights. Blocks blurred into a frantic haze, ducking into a bodega, then a subway grate. Emerging in Chelsea, gasping, we collapsed against a chain-link fence overlooking the Hudson. The river churned black, mirroring the turmoil in my chest. We got it. I panted, waving the mirror drive. But Voss. Forget him. Damien pulled me close, hands framing my face, thumbs wiping sweat and grime. You saved my ass back there. His kiss was fierce, tasting of gunpowder and gratitude, bodies pressing in desperate affirmation. But as sirens wailed closer, doubt crept. The data was gold, but so was the price on our heads. In the dark by the water's edge, with his arms my refuge, I whispered, what if together isn't enough? He tilted my chin, hazel eyes unwavering. Then we make it be. The promise hung, fragile yet fierce, as we slipped into the night once more, bound not by chains, but by the hearts we'd unwittingly surrendered. Chelsea's galleries glowed like beacons in the witching hour, their plate glass windows framing abstract swirls that mocked our disarray. We holed up in a vacant artist studio Damien knew, rented under a shell corp, its walls splashed with half-finished murals of lovers in torment, fitting our tangled fates. The door bolted behind us. I sagged against it, the Beretta's weight dragging my arm, echoes of gunfire still ringing in my ears. Damien paced, shedding his jacket, the serpent tattoo flexing with each taut step. Riley needs the mirror. ASAP. Text him the pickup. Tompkins Square, dawn. His voice was command wrapped in care, but the lines around his eyes betrayed the toll. 32 years of shadows had etched him deep, yet in this raw moment, he looked almost boyish, vulnerable, human. I nodded, thumbs flying over the burner, the device's glow casting eerie shadows. Message sent, I set it aside, crossing to him. Hey, my hands found his shoulders, needing knots born of battle. We're alive. That's the win. He stilled, turning into my touch, hazel depths searching mine. Barely. Then softer, you fired without flinching. Didn't know you had that in you. Learn from the best. I grinned, but it wobbled, the weight of the kill settling like lead. Life taken, not in rage, but necessity. Mom's voice echoed, her gentle scolds about choosing light over dark, but survival didn't ask permission. Damien sensed it, pulling me onto the worn futon, its springs creaking under us like old bones. We stripped methodically, wounds catalogued in the lamplight. A graze on my bicep, shallow and stinging. A bruise blooming on his ribs from a near-miss kick. He fetched a med kit from a hidden drawer, antiseptic sharp, bandages gentle. As he cleaned my arm, his touch lingered, fingers tracing the tattoo on my forearm. A circuit board fractal, inked in a haze of grief after Mom's funeral. What's this mean? Connections, I murmured, watching his lashes fan against his cheeks. The ones that matter. Code that links everything, even when it's broken. His eyes lifted, holding mine, and the air thickened, charged with the unspoken poetry of our collision. He leaned in, lips brushing the fresh bandage, then trailing upward to my neck, my jaw. You're full of them. The words vibrated against my skin, igniting paths of fire. Our kiss unfolded slow this time, exploratory, tongues mapping territories claimed in haste before. Hands wandered unhurried, mine over the ridges of his abs, dipping lower to the V of his hips, his threading through my hair, angling deeper, drawing sighs that filled the room. We moved to the futon, bodies aligning in a dance of rediscovery. Damien hovered above, muscles corded, giving me the reins. I flipped us, straddling his hips, savoring the hitch in his breath as I rocked, teasing, tormenting. Your turn to yield, I whispered, nails grazing his chest, eliciting a groan that rumbled through me. He yielded, but not passively, hands gripping my thighs, guiding, urging. I sank onto him, the stretch exquisite, our rhythms syncing like flawless code. Eyes locked, breaths mingled. We built to a symphony of gasps and whispers. His name on my lips like a prayer, mine growled from his throat like a curse. Release crashed gentle, waves lapping rather than storming, leaving us entwined, sweat slick and sated. In the quiet aftermath, his fingers traced my spine, voice muffled against my shoulder. Never thought I'd find this. Not in the crosshairs. I propped on his chest, gray eyes tracing the scar on his cheek. Me neither. Grew up thinking love was a glitch, Foster hops, one-night stands and crash pads. But you're the algorithm I didn't know I needed. Laughter bubbled from him, warm and rare. Nerd. But his kiss was tender, sealing the confession. Sleep claimed us then, limbs tangled, the city's hum a lullaby. Dawn pierced the murals in golden shards, rousing us to motion. Tompkins Square waited, leafy enclave amid the East Village's punk pulse, dog runs and chess tables hiding our drop. We arrived early, blending with morning joggers, the air crisp with fallen leaves crunching underfoot. Riley appeared on cue, hoodie up, skateboard underarm. Ever the skater kid turned shadow operative. Package. His eyes darted, handing over a slim envelope. Fake creds, cash roll. I passed the drive mirror, voice low. Full decrypt. Leaked to that journalist contact, the one from the Times expose last year. No traces. He pocketed it, grinned sly. On it. But words spreading, Vespers frothing. Voss is gunning personal. A pause, gaze flicking to Damien. You too. Careful. Hearts make sloppy thieves. The warning landed like a stone. Riley skated off, vanishing into the park's weave. Damien's arm slung my shoulders, casual to any watcher, intimate to us. He's right. We cut ties after this, disappear to the Keys or some nowhere town. The vision tempted, sun-bleached beaches, his hand in mine, no shadows chasing. And Vesper. Let the leak burn them. His squeeze tightened. We burned brighter. But fate laughed. As we crossed our coffee cart, my burner buzzed. Riley. Ambush. Voss's crew. Run. Panic spiked. Damien yanked me into a sprint, weaving through dog leashes and Tai Chi forms. Tires squealed at the park's edge, two sedans boxing us. Gunfire chattered, bullets splintering benches, screams erupting. We dove behind a hot dog stand, returning fire, Damien's shots dropping a goon, mine shattering a windshield. Alley. He hauled me up, we bolted, hearts pounding in sync. The alley narrowed, dead-ending at a fence. Climbers, but Voss's laugh echoed, booming victorious. He stepped from cover, flanked by 3 thugs, cigar glow. Blackwood. Traitorous dog. Voss's eyes raked me, leering. And a pretty bird. Thought you'd fly higher. Damien shoved me behind him, Glock steady. This ends now, Marco. For Lila. Voss's sneer faltered, then hardened. She begged pretty too. Shame. Rage ignited. Damien lunged, fist flying, cracking jaw knee to gut. Chaos erupted. I tackled a thug, elbow to throat. Damien grappled Voss, the older man drawing a switchblade. Steel flashed, slicing Damien's arm, blood blooming dark. No, I fired, clipping Voss's shoulder. He staggered, cursing, his crew faltering. Sirens wailed distant. Cops or Vesper, no matter. We broke free, Damien's wound staunching with his belt, my hands shaking as I tied it. Blocks away, slumped in a doorway, he winced but grinned. Told you, dirty fighting. I kissed him fierce, tasting blood and victory. My hunter. But the leak was live, Headlines would break soon. Yet Voss lived, the snake unslain. In the dawn's fragile light, our bond deepened. Not just survival, but a love forged in fire, promising more battles ahead. The wound wept crimson through the makeshift bandage as we limped toward the Hudson Yards. The High Line's elevated paths a risky but elevated escape route. Steel girders loomed like guardians, the river's briny whisper below mingling with Damien's ragged breaths. I supported his weight, his arms slung over my shoulders, every step a testament to the man who'd chosen me over vengeance. Keep pressure, I urged, voice steady despite the panic clawing my throat. 25 years of patching myself up, from playground scraps to bar brawls, hadn't prepared for this. The man who'd unraveled my defenses, bleeding out because of a ghost named Lila. Rossi, his place is closest. He'll stitch you. Damien grunted, hazel eyes glazed but fierce. Not the arm, the heart. He meant Voss, the unfinished score, but his free hand squeezed mine, thumb stroking knuckles, a silent vow amid the pain. We ascended the stairs to the High Line, blending with early tourists snapping selfies amid wildflower beds and rusted rails. The path wound like a vein through the city, offering glimpses of freedom. The vessel's honeycomb skeleton, distant sails on the water. But freedom was illusion. My burner buzzed incessantly. Riley's updates flooding, leak dropped, Time's running lead. Vesper empire crumbles, corruption ties to City Hall. Voss in hiding, feds swarming. Hope flickered, but so did dread. Vesper wouldn't fade quietly. They'd scorch earth to reclaim control. Damien's color paled, sweat beading his brow. Sit. I guided him to a bench obscured by shrubs, tearing my shirt hem for fresh padding. As I rebound the gash, deep but not arterial, his gaze held mine, raw with unspoken fears. Alex, if I don't make it, shut it. I tied the knot tight, leaning to kiss him, salt and iron on his lips. You're not dying on some elevated park bench. Not when we got beaches waiting. A ghost of a smile. Bossy. But he rose, leaning less, resolve hardening. We pressed on, descending toward Rossi's warren, the tailor's shop a sanctuary amid the district hum. Rossi took one look at Damien's arm and cursed in Italian, hustling us to the back. Sit, sit, like a bull in my china. His hands, steady from decades of precision, cleaned and stitched under the harsh fluorescence. 20 neat pulls, antiseptic stinging the air. Vesper, eh? Bah. They come for you, you come for me. Family now. Gratitude choked me as Damien flexed his arm, scar fresh pink against olive skin. Oh, you old man. Rossi waved it off, pressing a bottle of grappa into my hands. Drink. For the nerves. Then, quieter to Damien, the boy. He's good for you. Don't be fool like me, chasing shadows. The words lingered as we slipped out, fortified. Midtown pulsed around us. Times Square's billboards screaming headlines about Vesper's fall, protesters chanting for justice outside City Hall. Our story, anonymized, fueled the fire. Evictions halted, families like mine spared the bulldozers. But victory tasted bittersweet. Voss slithered free, and with him, the threat to Damien's past. We crashed in a midtown no-tell motel, peeling wallpaper, beds sagging like regrets. Safety bought time for truths. Damien showered first, emerging in a towel, water beating his chest, the serpent tattoo glistening. I pulled him down, our bodies aligning instinctive, but this time words wove with touches. Tell me about her, I said, fingers tracing his scar. Lila. He exhaled, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Little sister, 8 years younger. Spirited, always sketching, dreaming of galleries, not the streets. His voice thickened. After the core, I came home to her ODing on Vesper's cut. Voss applied, laughed it off. I took the job to get close, but a pause, hand finding mine. Too slow. She was gone before I could pull the trigger. Grief cracked open, raw and real. I shifted, holding him as sobs shook his frame, silent at first, then wrenching. Hey, I murmured, lips to his temple. You carry her still. That's love, not failure. He turned, burying in my neck, the dam breaking. We held through it, his tears wetting my skin, my hand stroking his back, whispers of absolution. When spent, he lifted, eyes red-rimmed but clear. You see me, Alderot. I see the man who fights for ghosts. My kiss was gentle, deepening to affirmation. Clothes shed, we made love slow, exploring scars, not just flesh. His hands learned the curve of my hip, the sensitivity behind my knee. Mine mapped the constellation of freckles across his shoulders. Climax built tender, a shared release that mended more than wounds. Post-bliss, tangled sheets, he traced my circuit tattoo. Connections, huh? You're mine now. The claim warmed, but reality intruded. Burner alert. Voss cited. Warehouse district tonight. Fed's closing, but he's arming up. Adrenaline crashed back. We end this, Damien said, steel in his voice. For Lila. For us. I nodded, fear twisting with resolve. Gear up, strike fast, poetic justice in the shadows where it began. Dusk fell as we approached the warehouse district, Red Hook's industrial ghosts stirring under sodium lamps. The target, an abandoned cannery, rusted silos like fingers clawing the sky. We parked blocks out, approaching stealth, Damien's stitched arm a dull throb he ignored. Inside, the air hung fetid, machinery hulks casting long shadows. Whispers echoed. Voss's crew, maybe a dozen, plotting counterstrike. We crept cat-silent, Damien signaling left flank, me right. Heart thundering, I peered around a conveyor belt. Voss at a makeshift table, maps spread, barking orders. His shoulder bandaged, eyes wild, cornered animal. Damien moved first, Glock whispering 2 silenced rounds, guards down. Chaos erupted, shouts, gunfire flashing. I flanked, dropping another, the Beretta's recoil jar in my wrist. Vospun, spotin Damien, blade draunano. Traitor! He lunged, steel clashing Damien's guard. They grappled, fists and curses flying. Voss's age no match for Damien's fury. A knee, an elbow, then Damien pinned him, blade at throat. For Lila. Voss sneer, bloodied. She was weak. Like you. The taunt snapped something. Damien's hand trembled, but didn't strike. Not like me. He zip-tied Voss, hauling him up. Justice, not blood. Sirens wailed, feds tipped by Riley. As cuffs clicked on Voss, Damien sagged against me, the weight lifting. It's over. In the cannery's gloom, amid flashing lights, I kissed him, victory's seal. But as agents swarmed, a stray bullet whined, grazing my side, fire blooming. Pain buckled me, Damien's roar echoing as darkness edged in. His face hovered, frantic. Alex, stay with me. The world faded, his voice anchor. Love, I learned, wasn't seduction's ploy. It was the thread holding chaos at bay. And in that brink, I clung to him. Pain lanced white-hot, the graze of vicious tear along my ribs, blood soaking my shirt in warm accusation. Damien's arms cradled me as agents swarmed the cannery, their shouts a cacophony blurring with the roar in my ears. He's hit, get a medic. Damien's voice cracked, raw terror stripping the hunter's mask, leaving the man beneath, vulnerable, fierce in his plea. I gripped his hand, vision tunneling to his hazel eyes, wide with a fear I'd never seen. Just a scratch, I rasped, forcing a grin through gritted teeth. But the world tilted, edges fraying like bad code, and I slipped under, his face the last anchor before oblivion claimed me. Voices filtered through the haze, medics barking vitals, Damien's low growl demanding, "Don't you dare leave me, Alex. Not now." The ambulance ride blurred, sirens wailing, IVs pricking, his hand vice-tied on mine. Hospital lights stabbed, then surgery's chill numbness, waking to beeps and the sterile tang of betadine. He was there, slumped in a vinyl chair, bandaged arms slung, stubble shadowing his jaw. Dawn crept through blinds, painting stripes across his face, exhaustion etched deep. "Hey," I croaked, throat sandpaper from intubation. His head snapped up, relief flooding like sunrise. Stubborn bastard. He rose, perching on a bed's edge, fingers gentle on my cheek. Bullets skimmed the ribs, stitches, transfusion. "You're stuck with me." Laughter bubbled, wincing into a hiss. Lucky me, but tears pricked, relief, not pain. We'd dance with death and lived. Nurses bustled, but in stolen moments, his lips brushed my forehead, a promise whispered, no more running. Vesper's empire crumbled in the days that followed, headlines devouring the story. Voss indicted, City Hall scandals toppling officials like dominoes. Riley texted victory emojis, anonymous from a Cayman server. U2 legends. Retire the capes. Protesters marched in the Bronx, families reclaiming homes, mom's memory honored in the fight she'd inspired. Discharge came swift, clean bill, pain meds dulling the ache. Damien whisked me to a safe house upstate, a cabin on the Hudson's quieter bends, leased under Marcus Hale. Fall foliage blazed crimson and gold, the river a silver ribbon winding through hills dotted with maples. No neon, no gunshots, just birdsong and the creak of porch swings. We settled slow, him chopping wood with his good arm, me sketching code on a laptop by the window, sunlight slanting warm. Evenings unfolded lazy, dinners of grilled trout and stories swapped over wine. His core tales from desert sands, Lila sketches framed in memory. Mine, mom's salsa nights, foster pranks that bordered felony. Laughter healed deeper than stitches, weaving us tighter. One dusk, as leaves swirled in eddies, we walked the riverbank, hands linked. Ever think it'd end like this? I asked, gravel crunching under boots. Damien halted, turning me to face him, hazel eyes reflecting the sunset's fire. End? Nah. Begin. He dropped to one knee, impromptu, earnest, pulling a simple band from his pocket, scavenged from Rossi's odds. Alex Rivera, you seduced more than my body. Marry me? Build this, us, into forever. Tears blurred, joy surging past scars. Yes. The kiss sealed it, river murmuring approval, the world vast and kind for once. But shadows lingered. A week in, my burner, ditched but replaced, buzzed. Anonymous tip. Boss out on bail. Watching. Paranoia crept, but Damien's calm steadied. We face it. Together. The threat materialized on a crisp morning. Voss's crew, remnants slinking from the woodwork, torching our rental car in a midnight blaze. Flames lit the night, sirens distant. We grabbed essentials, fleeing north to a backup, a friend's Adirondack lodge, snow-dusted peaks of fortress. There, tension simmered. He's obsessed. Damien fumed, pacing the great room, fire crackling. Thinks ending me, closes Lila's book. I pulled him down, straddling his lap, hands framing his face. Then we rewrite it. Our kiss ignited, urgent reclaiming. Clothes shed by the hearth, bodies glowing in firelight. He took me slow, reverent, thrusts deep, whispers of love against my skin. Mine, he growled, nipping my shoulder, drawing moans that echoed off logs. I arched, nails digging, our union a defiance, pleasure drowning fear. Climax shattered us, collapsing in a heap of limbs and laughter. Better than any safe house, I gasped. But dawn brought reckoning. Scouts reported Voss holed in a Catskills motel, plotting with diehards. Feds were slow, red tape tangling. We can't wait, Damien said. Resolve iron. One last hunt. Reluctance warred, but I nodded. Gear up. Rifles from the lodge's cache, vests snug. The drive twisted through passes, tension thick as fog. At the motel, neon flickered, vacancy. Parking lot empty, save Voss's beater. We breached quiet, Damien front, me cover. Halls reeked of mildew, doors ajar to empty rooms. The end suite, light under door, voices murmuring. Damien kicked it, rifle raised, Voss whirled, pistol drawn, two goons flanking. End of the line, Marco. Damien's voice echoed steel. Voss sneered, finger twitching. You'll join her. Time slowed. Gunfire erupted, muzzle flashes strobing. I dove, popping rounds, one goon down, the other grazing Damien's vest. Voss fired wild, shattering a lamp. Damien charged, tackling, fists raining, bone crunching. I flanked, disarming the second, zip tying. Voss bucked, blade flashing, slashing Damien's thigh. Blood sprayed, but Damien pinned, rifle but cracking Voss's temple. Unconscious bound. Call it in, he panted, wound bubbling. I dialed feds, coordinates crisp. As agents swarmed hours later, Voss hauled away. This time, no bail, Damien leaned on me, leg bandaged. It's done. Exhaustion hit, but triumph too. In the cruiser's back seat to the hospital, his head on my shoulder. Ring still fits. I twisted it, smiling. Perfect. The Adirondack Hospital was a far cry from Midtown's frenzy. Small, wood-paneled, smelling of pine and peroxide. Doctors stitched Damien's thigh efficient. Antibiotics flowing, prognosis. Weeks of rest, no permanent hitch. I hovered, fetching water, fluffing pillows, our engagement band glinting like a talisman against the sterile white. You're fussing, he teased, pulling me onto the bed's edge, lips brushing my knuckles. Hazel eyes sparkled, pain meds softening edges but not the depth of his gaze. Get used to it, husband-to-be. The word thrilled, solidifying the dream we'd clawed from nightmares. Outside, snow flurried first of season, blanketing peaks in hush, a fresh canvas for our rewrite. Riley visited incognito, bearing takeout and grins. Voss sings like a canary, full confessions, Vesper's remnants scattering. He clapped Damien's good shoulder. You two, retire heroes, or at least boring normals. We laughed, but as he left, gravity settled. Normalcy beckoned, but scars lingered, mine a faint line under bandages, his a constellation mapping battles. That night, in the dim room, Damien's hand found my side, tracing the healing graze. Worth it. Every scar. I leaned in, kissed deepening, soft explorations turning heated. Nurses be damned. His hands roamed under my shirt, drawing gasps. Damien. Shoo. He shifted careful, mindful of tubes, our touches a language of recovery. Gentle strokes whispered endearments. Release came quiet, affirming life amid fragility. Weeks blurred, cabin confinement, physical therapy hikes through snow-shrouded trails, meals shared by firelight. I coded freelance, ethical gigs now, exposing minor corruptions for watchdogs. Damien sketched, Lila's influence, portraits of us emerging charcoal dark, tender. For the wall, he said, framing one. Us by the river, hands linked, eyes locked. Spring thawed the world green, our wounds to whispers. We planned a quiet ceremony in the village, Riley best man, Rossi efficient in his brocade vest. Vows exchanged under the arch where it sparked. Washington Square, full circle. I used to hunt shadows, Damien said, voice steady, ring sliding home. Now, I chase light with you. Tears fell, mine matching his. Seduction saved me once. But you You gave me heart. The kiss sealed, cheers erupting, protesters turned friends, family spared by our leak, toasting redemption. Months on, we settled in a Brooklyn brownstone. Red Hook reclaimed, not ruins. Garden bloomed wild, code hum from my office. Damien security consults ethical now. Training feds on shadows he'd fled. Nights tangled sheets, mornings coffee kisses, love's rhythm steady. One evening, porch swing creaking, sunset painting the harbor gold. Damien pulled a sketchpad. For our story, pages flipped. Our first clash, warehouse rain. The loft's fire, riverbank proposal. Last, future, two figures on a beach, waves lapping, hands entwined. Keys, I murmured, leaning into him. Sooner. His arm, band in my waist, heartbeat synced to mine. Vesper's ghost faded. Voss's trial a footnote. Life sentence, justice served cold. But our tale? Warmed, eternal. In America's beating heart, from hunter's blade to lover's vow, we'd proven, survival wasn't escape but embrace. Seduction sparked it, but love endured. Raw, redemptive, ours forever. And somewhere in the dark we'd conquered. Light bloomed unbreakable.